RFKJ was on the Hill this morning getting roasted by very annoying people. I mean, back to Colorado's Senator Michael Bennet. Angry, angry man who gets RFKJ in front of him. This is the Finance Committee. It wasn't the Oversight for Health and Human Services, but the Finance Committee. So it wasn't exactly the cast of characters that was there for his confirmation, though it was largely duplicative. I'm trying to remember whether that's true. In any event, here is Michael Bennet going after him because he's very, very angry that Kennedy dumped all these people who were working on the vaccine group at CDC and wants them replaced with other people who, it's not that they're all vaccine skeptics. It's that what Kennedy says is they actually just want data. They don't want to assume that babies need the Hep B shot when they are 1 hour old. They want data to prove to them that's a necessary, quote, vaccine injection for a 1 day or a 1 hour year old. And so that's who Kennedy wants to put on this board. In any event, here's Michael Bennet questioning him about it in SOT 5.
If your panel recommends changing the vaccine schedule for children, do you anticipate that fewer children will receive these common vaccinations, yes or no?
What I would say, Senator...
The obvious answer is yes. Should parents and schools of Colorado be prepared for more measles outbreaks as a result of that, Mr. Secretary?
Senator,
how about more mumps outbreaks?
I do not anticipate a change in the MMR vaccine. ACIP is an independent panel. So
well, it's a panel you just put those folks on. Far from what you said, they're people with ideas that are completely outside the mainstream.
And you were never there complaining when the pharmaceutical companies were picking those people and then running their products through with no safety testing.
You can characterize it any way you want. I quoted them today. What I said was accurate. What you said were lies. You described people
Senator,
moving the Titanic.
Senator, are you saying that the mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply...
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire...
You're evading the question.
If you watch the whole segment, just Bennett's just angry the whole time, spitting mad at him. But I did think that was an interesting exchange because Kennedy gave as good as he got and was not taking it lying down, Glenn. But clearly they want his scalp. They wanted it when he was in the confirmation hearings, which he did pass, and they want it just as badly, if not more now.
Yeah, Bobby Kennedy grew up in the Oval Office. He's not going to be intimidated by people in Washington. But I will say that what this shows is that these people can never come to terms with the radical failures of their venerated institutions and experts, like what everybody saw happen throughout COVID in multiple different ways. So they're basically saying, look, these are the experts that you have to stick with. But Trump ran on a platform, and so did RFK Jr., of clearing them out. And they think that these people that they consider the authorities, no matter how much they err, are always and permanently entitled to that status, no matter how much the American people conclude rightly that those people don't deserve to be listened to anymore and that change is radically needed. The other thing I will say that's so interesting is that RFK Jr.'s primary critique of the health establishment is actually a very left-wing critique. It's been very popular among the left for a long time, which is that it looks as though it's being driven by scientific conclusion. In reality, these scientists are chosen and dominated by the drug companies who these scientists do the bidding for. So whatever product these drug companies want to be approved or want to be mandated, these scientists who are, in a lot of ways devoted to or controlled by the establishment of these drug companies does it. And RFK Jr. is saying we need to remove these drug companies from the regulatory process. They've captured the regulatory process, and we need independent minds here to separate themselves from the drug industry to make assessments, not based on the profit of the drug companies, but based on the actual health needs of the American people. And that is a critique that for me is extremely compelling. And it's even more compelling by the fact that we've watched for 5 years the worst epidemic of our lifetime. These scientists get pretty much everything wrong and lie constantly. And the fact that they still think they're entitled to permanent power status shows what the kind of entitlement mindset is of the Michael Bennetts of the world.
Yes. And on the same line, you had Virginia Senator Mark Warner, who tried to get you, he had to try to gotcha question with him about how many people died from COVID. Now, everybody listening to our voices right now knows the asterisks that you would have to put behind any such number, because we all know the hospitals were overstating the deaths. The hospitals got more money depending on the patients who were there. And you could go in with a gunshot wound to the heart, but technically a pulse. And if you died 2 hours later, but they tested your corpse positive for COVID, they'd say it was a COVID death. It was insane. There was great reporting on this. David Zweig did a lot of really important pieces on all of this. And so that's why RFKJ in this clip you're going to see hesitates, but Virginia Senator Mark Warner thinks it's absolutely knowable and tried to cross-examine him with this gotcha in SOT 6.
Do you accept the fact that 1 million Americans died from COVID?
I don't know how many died.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You don't have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows that, because there was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC, and there were so many perverse incentives. And these are modeling
You don't know the answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Do you think the vaccine did anything to prevent additional deaths?
Again, I would like to see the data and talk about the data.
You have had this job for 8 months, and you don't know the data about whether the vaccine saved lives?
That's the problem, is that they didn't have the data. The data by the Biden administration absolutely dismal.
So who is politicizing? You're saying the Biden administration politicized all the data? Go back to what Senator Cantwell just said.
Fired Dr.
Go to the Trump Surgeon General.
They fired Dr. Krauss. They fired all the people who questioned the orthodoxy.
How can you be that ignorant?
Wow. And just to add to that, Glenn, you've got now the woman who headed up the CDC, Dr. Susan Menarez, who wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today taking aim at RFKJ. I was fired after 29 days because I held the line and insisted on rigorous scientific review. And she goes through, he pressured me to resign. I was really just trying to hold the line on science around vaccines, basically suggesting like Kennedy's not into them and he should be because they're life-saving. None of these people are realizing the absolute collapse of trust we've had in these organizations, and that this whole trademark the science thing is not working on the vast majority of the American people anymore.
Well, also, this question of how many deaths, and the point they're trying to make is that COVID killed a huge number of people, and it killed a lot more people in the United States than in virtually every other country, if not every other country by percentage, which, okay, let's assume that's true. Huge numbers of people died of COVID in the United States. The people who were in charge, it wasn't really Biden or Trump. It was the scientific establishment that has run science and health policy in the United States for decades. It was Tony Fauci and everybody on down. They all got their way with everything. These moronic policies of masks and forced vaccines. And remember that idiotic 6-foot social distancing, which turned out to be a complete joke. School lockdowns without regard to the consequences. Lies about the origins of COVID. Everybody understands, except these people in Washington, that the people that they want to venerate as the experts who you cannot question, who you cannot touch, that if you question at all, you're being unscientific. It was those people who radically failed. And they didn't just fail because of error that was understandable. They failed because of arrogance and deceit. They banished any questioning up to the point where you got banned from the internet if you questioned any of these orthodoxies, including many of which that turned out to be completely false, not just questionable. So the anger and arrogance that they continue to maintain, like how dare you question these numbers that have been handed down from, Mount Olympus, when so much of what they handed down turned out to be false, shows the kind of insularity that they cannot lose. Like they just don't understand the American people don't trust them in these institutions any longer, including science, and for good reason.
Yes, my gosh. Yes, so well said. It's infuriating because I watched that. My basic takeaway is if RFKJ doesn't like Susan Monarez, neither do I. Goodbye. I don't trust her. He was put in there to blow things up and do things differently and restore trust in these institutions, and quickly realized, even though he'd worked with her for a couple months and apparently thought she was okay because she got confirmed, changed his mind. Fine. He's the head of the group. He's at the top of HHS. Sure, it's a pain in the ass to have to confirm somebody new. I don't care. Martin Kulldorff would be amazing. He's brilliant, part of the Great Barrington Declaration, one of the few who was honest. From Harvard, the left should love him, but because he joined in that, focused protection pitch, they don't. Here is RFKJ in an exchange with Senator Ron Wyden, who also hates his guts, of Oregon, having a contentious exchange about that op-ed by Monarez in the Wall Street Journal. And RFKJ speaks to it a bit. SOT 3.
She was told to pre-approve the recommendations of a vaccine advisory panel filled with people who've publicly expressed anti-vaccine rhetoric. Did you, in fact, do what Director Monarez said you did, which is tell her to just go along with vaccine recommendations, even if she didn't think such recommendations aligned with scientific evidence? So you have an opportunity to call her a liar.
I never said that.
So she's lying today to the American people in the Wall Street Journal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So one way or the other, we're going to have a hard look at vaccines. And whatever they do, they can give them a hard time about Monarez. One way or the other, Glenn, we are going to take a hard look at these vaccines and have an actual debate about whether they're safe and effective. Kennedy's already doing it. And these people are going to do their level best to stop it however they can. They don't want it. They just say it's settled science. We can't have these discussions. I don't think they're going to win this time. Your thoughts?
I mean, the aspect of the clip with Bennett, the first one we showed that I thought was very revealing that we did mention was RFK Jr. was saying, are you trying to deny the link between the COVID vaccines and myocarditis, which, if you recall, and I'm sure you do, anyone who raised that, people were on Joe Rogan raising it, Joe Rogan himself was raising it, they were called anti-vax. There can be a link between,
I was one of them.
Between vaccines and myocarditis, and still, on the whole, the vaccine might be still desirable because the benefits outweigh the risk. But to simply deny the truth or to insist that everybody lie because questioning the vaccine might lead others to be more skeptical about it, that's the kind of really condescending deceit that has characterized elites in the United States for way too long. And of course, Bennett won't now acknowledge or even address the question because we know there's links between the COVID vaccine and myocarditis, but at the time it was so vehemently denied that anyone who raised it was treated as almost a criminal. I don't think RFK Jr. has all the answers. I don't think his scientist, the one he favors, should also have this unanimous ability to implement policy without debate and be questioned. But I don't think he's asking for that. He's saying we need a shakeup in the health policy institution because of how wrong they've been in so many corrupt ways. And that's what offends people in Washington whenever you question establishment prerogatives. And that's what the American people hate most about Washington is the establishment. And Democrats are always in the position of defending it, as are many Republicans. But Democrats have almost tied themselves to the establishment. They think any questioning of it is almost like like irreligious, or some kind of sin, even though the public has turned against these people completely.
They've lost us. They lost us long ago. They lost us in part because they put guys like this in charge of our vaccine policy. Here's that Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis on with Caitlin Collins the other night on CNN, SOT 11.
For my entire career, been an advocate for the LGBTQ community through my work in HIV, through my work in MPOX. I find it outrageous that this administration is trying to erase transgender people. I very specifically used the term pregnant people and very specifically added my pronouns at the end of my resignation letter to make the point that I am defying this terrible strategy at trying to erase people and not allowing them to express their identities. So I accept the note from the press secretary and counter that with, I don't care.
That's the Biden administration's idea of science. Pregnant people. That's who we should be listening to, according to the Ron Wydens and the Michael Bennetts of the world.
You know, I have to say, like, I lived through the gay rights movement, which basically succeeded in all of its forms way beyond what anyone actually thought was possible. And I believe the reason for that was that there were constant debates. Like, Americans are basically, in my view, good people who are open-minded, and they might have ideas because they've been taught to have ideas. And the more you engage with people, the more they see the reality of things, the more just kind of accepting they become. Like, we're not interested in controlling other people's lives. I really believe that would have been the trajectory of trans people. And actually, it had been the trajectory of trans people. No one really cared about trans people. They've been around for quite a while. They've had victories in terms of legal rights until this sort of mentality started dictating, like, how dare you question anything? The minute you question anything, you're an evil person. We're going to shove this down your throat. We don't care if you understand it. We don't care if you agree with it. We're going to subject your kids to it. That is exactly what, in most cases, the gay rights movement avoided. It was much more about engagement and persuasion and debate. And unfortunately, like, a lot of the modern day left does not believe in any of that. They have this very imperious attitude that they're going to force people even to change their language and their most fundamental beliefs, not through persuasion, but through dictate. And when you do that to people in general, and Americans in particular, we're still endowed with this kind of, like, we have the right to think what we want and do what we want. All you're going to do is create massive backlash. And in so many ways, what they claim to be so afraid of is their own creation.
When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to 10 grand. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.